Okay, you guys, I have to ask, are you loving Suki this season as much as I am? It feels like TLC finally listened to the viewers, or maybe Suki just stepped up her game. This season, she's able to be friendly, but also assertive, which is a change from before when she seemed to tiptoe around Kody. I really like this new dynamic and have enjoyed watching it so far. I'm already excited for the next episode. In this video, we're talking about Season 19, Episode 27, which is Part 2 of the one-on-ones for Sister Wives. These episodes are always hard to recap fully because there's so much conversation, so I try to highlight the moments that stood out to me, but I might skip some things. If you think I missed something important, please leave a comment below. Now, the first thing I want to say is that Suki was definitely the star of this episode. Also, every person, including each wife and Kody, had moments where they said something memorable. There were some great one-liners and standout moments from everyone. The downside, though, was that we didn't really hear anything new or shocking, which is what you usually want from a one-on-one. But overall, I still enjoyed it. The episode started with Janelle, Christine, and Robin talking about how Kody handled their relationships. Janelle said Kody seemed to give up during COVID, and Christine called him a failure, saying he was the problem. I've thought about this a lot, and I believe it wasn't just the wives' relationships with Kody. If he had been a good dad, Janelle and Christine might have stayed, but he wasn't even good at being a father. So what was the point? Christine summed it up well. Kody was the problem. During this part, Suki mentioned that Janelle called Robin a sacred cow, and Robin's response was kind of funny. At first, I wondered if she was being sassy, but thinking about it, if you were Robin, always the youngest, newest wife with the last kids and the biggest house, and everyone accusing you of being a bad person, how would you respond? Robin probably didn't want to admit or discuss being called a sacred cow because that would bring up things she'd rather avoid. So her reaction actually made sense. I also remind myself that years have passed and they probably don't care as much anymore. Kody said it. Janelle said she doesn't want to be friends with him, and it seems like everyone is moving on. They don't even want to talk about this stuff anymore. They probably genuinely do not care. I just didn't want to leave it out because I really felt like it was one of Robin's standout moments in this episode. But that's not all that Robin said. She also talked about how she was tired of being brought up. She wishes that they weren't focusing on her as much as they do, and she made a comment about them working on their own relationships because Robin was never in the position of marry Janelle and Christine. I think she doesn't realize how difficult it would be to not bring her up. Imagine being in a relationship with someone where they are treating you poorly or they're neglecting the relationship. There's no affection. It's not romantic. It's not loving. They're not being a good father to your children. And then, they get in their car, they drive down the road, and they're doing all of those things with someone else. They spend a lot of time with that person, and they return to you, and you get none of that. And it's happening when they are at that other person's house. It would be really difficult not to reference that because you're going to want to say, I know you can be a better husband because you're doing it with that person. I know you can be a better dad because you're doing it with her kids. It would be very difficult not to bring that up because that's the evidence that you're being treated badly. It's right there in front of you. It's a really terrible position to be in because if you are in a relationship where it's not a good relationship, but your partner's not seeing anyone else, at least then you just think, I might have chose a bad person. I might have picked the wrong person for me. I need something else. But they actually got to witness their spouse leave and go be amazing for someone else. How could you not bring up that person's name? It would be almost impossible. After this, Suki talks to Janelle about her theory that Kody became more of a villain to get some of the focus off of Robin. This was something that Janelle brought up in the last one-on-one, and Janelle says she cannot remember a time where Kody was ever this mean. Here is Janelle explaining why she thinks he became so mean and so hurtful. The accusations that Janelle is referring to are the ones that relate to this idea that Robin entered the family to split them up, like that was her goal. But Janelle says that's not true. She thinks Robin entered the family because she wanted to join a polygamous family and be a sister wife, so she doesn't think that's how it all began. But she does say that Robin's not innocent and she played a part in what happened as well as Kody did. Now, when it comes to Kody and that change of him being a villain, I think that's something we were able to see as viewers. I think if you go back and you were to watch season 1 and then jump forward to like season 16, he is a completely different person. He is so volatile. And then 17 and 18, I think he chilled out a little bit this last season, but there was a period of time where he seemed to be out of control when it came to the things he would say about the original wives and about his kids. He said mean, horrible things that shouldn't have been said on a show. I really just thought it was the pressure of COVID that was sort of changing him. I thought he got a bit over the top with wanting to quarantine the way he did and all of his rules. I thought there was just a lot going on and it was bringing out the worst in him. But maybe Janelle's right. Maybe if he was being awful, no one was going to focus on Robin. Maybe they were just all going to focus on him. I mean, she could be right, because Kody did get incredibly mean. So we hear from Janelle, and then it switches over to Kody, and Suki is talking about that scene in the restaurant where Kody shuts down the conversation that Janelle wants to have about their relationship and about Robin. According to Kody, Janelle brought up Robin over and over again during that scene. Now, when he's talking to Suki about all of this, I felt like the conversation really went all over the place. So, I'm not going to try to recap what he said, but if you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. And I think Suki did a really good job during this part. She was friendly, but she still pointed out that things weren't exactly the way Kody was claiming. And Kody tried to shut down the conversation, but she wasn't having it. I love that she called him out for being a baby. And I love that she told him that he couldn't shut it down. He cannot. He has gotten away with that way too much. He's not going to talk about something, and then it has to end. She was not having it, and I loved it. And yes, it was my favorite moment. Now that I rewatched it again, that was my favorite moment of this episode. During this part of the show, you can tell that Kody is a little bit frustrated, and it's something I see with all of them to a certain extent. They're really moving on, and they're done with talking about some of this, and he's trying to say he's over it. And I think he was trying to make a point, but it didn't go quite the way he thought it was going to. I think we're heading maybe into the right direction if you keep going, Kody. Keep going with what you're saying. And he did. And I think he was going on the right path. He says, I was at fault too. I wish he would have taken the word "to" off, but I felt like he was going somewhere good, like he's headed in the right direction now. I wish he would have acknowledged in the past that he didn't see a future in those relationships. I love the fact that he started this rant off by saying, "Is that all anybody's looking for?" And I was at home watching it like, yes, this is what we're looking for. He could have had this conversation years ago and things probably would have been very different. Would have there been hurt feelings? Absolutely. But he should have held himself accountable. He should have acknowledged the fact that he didn't even want those relationships anymore. Things could have turned out so much differently. And those accusations that always involve Robin and sort of making her the bad person in this, it could have been avoided if Kody said, "I don't want to spend time with the other women. It's me. I'm the person who doesn't want to spend time with them. It's not Robin demanding anything. I don't want to be with them." This all could have turned out differently for him, for the other wives, and for Robin, the person he seems to want to protect the most. But Kody could never do that. He used the word back. Did he ever hold himself accountable? I feel like this is the closest we've gotten to it. I don't recall any time during this where he really acknowledged his role in how everything happened. So, I'm surprised he feels like there was a time he might have been holding himself accountable. After this, we see Suki and Janelle talking, and Janelle admits that she doesn't like Kody and Robin. This moment was really insignificant to me, because to me, This is sort of normal. This is an ex and his wife. She doesn't want to hang out with him. She doesn't like them in a way where they're friends, where they like socializing together. She doesn't like them in that way. So, to me, it wasn't anything at all when she said that, but there are so many comments online where people are making assumptions that something awful must have happened to make Janelle go on the show and say that she doesn't like them. I've read a lot of things about how something must have happened at Garrison's funeral. I think it's sort of normal when a relationship ends to say, you know what? I don't want to socialize with that person. That's not my friend anymore. That is my ex. I just don't like them in that way. We're not friends, but go have a good life. I'll be civil if I see you out in public, or I see you at a family event. They have kids in common, but I don't like you as a friend. I don't like you that way anymore. I didn't think that was a big deal. Would you guys want to hang out with Robin and Kody? Come on. And I feel like over and over again on this show, they talk about healing, and I think they've all moved on. I don't think they need to heal together. I don't think they need group therapy. They need therapy. It needs to be on their own. So, for me, this was the moment where Janelle was sort of saying, I don't care. The same way we heard Kody say, I don't care. He's done. Everyone's moving on. Christina's moved on. This was Janelle saying that, I don't like them. I don't want to spend time with them. But you guys can let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you think there was something that really made her feel like she doesn't like them? Or do you just think it's more like what I think, where it's natural? That's an ex. They've moved on. After this, we see Mary for really the first time, like we haven't seen her sitting down and really talking to Suki yet. This leads to them discussing the moving day episode. That is the one where Kody helps Mary move, and there's a lot of flirtation going on. I remember just wishing anyone had helped Mary move. Anyone. We viewers, she should have reached out to us. I wish Kody had not went there that day and flirted with her and smiled at her and you're my favorite ex-wife and all that crap. I just remember that episode and really, really wishing Kody hadn't been there. But as far as the one-on-one goes, there wasn't anything that surprised me. But there was a moment where Christine made a good point. Kody went from his whole identity being the fact that he is a polygamist and he is a husband with 4 wives, and now he has transitioned to his whole identity being that he is Robin's husband. His identity is always who he is married to, and now his focus is really surprised me during this part of the show. But there was a moment I just absolutely cannot leave out. There was a moment where they were talking about the moving day episode, and Kody had referred to Mary as his favorite ex-wife, and you sort of see the difference between Christine and Mary here. If you haven't noticed it before, they respond to this really differently. Mary does not care that he said that she was his favorite ex-wife. She doesn't seem bothered by it. She thought it was kind of funny. Christine, on the other hand, thought it was him being mean. He shouldn't be saying that. Why does he always have to have a favorite? You can really see the differences in Mary and Christine when it comes to how they respond to things like that. There was one part of this I really did enjoy when it came to them talking about the moving day, and that was when Mary talked about how, if Kody was grieving their relationship, he needed to work on that on his own. She was going to put that back on him, and I remember watching that episode and thinking, I'm glad Mary is in such a good space because this could have turned out differently. He used to manipulate Mary. He used to flip and flop on whether or not he wanted to work on their relationship. His interactions with her on that day were confusing. The flirting, the being happy, or my favorite ex-wife, all of that. And then crying at the end, it was just a lot. And I'm glad she was like, it's on you. I guess you're gonna have to cry on your own. Like, she did not fall for any of it. She didn't even fall for it when Robin came over with that junk journal. She was like giving her a hug and thank you. But Mary was in a really good place. She was not gonna participate in that. And I liked hearing her talk about it. She was putting it back on him. You know what? Good for Mary. After this, they switch over to talking about Kody and David meeting. And you guys, doesn't that feel like ages ago? That feels like it was way in the past, but it was really this season. Kody says it was more comfortable meeting David than it was seeing Christine, and he tries to avoid watching the clip during this part of the show, and Suki tells him that he is gonna watch it. But I have to tell you, when I think back to that, it felt awkward, but it didn't go terrible. This is another one of those times where, sure, it was weird, but it was going to be weird. It was going to be a little bit awkward standing in a room with a family that you don't get along with, and then your ex is bringing their new partner. Of course, it was gonna feel weird for Kody and Robin and David and Christine. I didn't think a whole lot of it. What was interesting to me was Kody talking about going on a guy's trip with David. First of all, why is it a dirty thought? What kind of guy's trip is he wanting to go on? And then second of all, you think it'd be unfair to Christine? It'd be really unfair to your kids. I mean, we watch them all go fishing and invite him and Robin and their kids, and they wouldn't even go fishing with them when they're having a moment that should have brought them all together. So he can't go fishing with them in Wyoming, but he had a thought to go on a guy's trip with Christine's new husband. That's weird. That's really weird. I do want to talk about something I don't enjoy in these one-on-ones, and that is the idea that they need to heal together or spend time together, go on double dates, go on trips. No, they don't need to do that. They're all moving on. They're moving away from each other. The only people that need to work on a relationship together is Kody and Robin. Otherwise, Christine has David. Mary's out there on her own, starting her own life. Janelle is as well. If they need to heal, they can do that individually. They might actually have better interactions if they do that on their own, but they don't need to go out of their way to spend time together. They don't need to do that. No, not for the show, not for anything. They're moving on. They should go on their own way. And there just seems to be this idea that they need to work on things that